Welcome back to a new series here at the Hide. So if you're looking for the most unscientific ammunition reviews on the net, you have found them. So we are going to start a new series, 50 rounds at 50 yards. So this is something I've been wanting to do, but with rimfire ammunition. So rimfire has been a big staple here at the Hide. And basically what I'm looking to do is we are going to put 50 rounds on paper at 50 yards, but I'm going to get velocity data on each one of those rounds, and I'm also going to weigh each one of those rounds so we can see what kind of consistency we're getting out of various rimfire loaded ammunition. Now, to kind of save you guys the torture of me going through all of this and shooting all of it, I'm going to use most of the shooting video as inset, and we're basically just going to dive into the data once it's done. So we will be using my Savage Mark II FV. This I have had here at the Hide for, gosh, probably 6 years. This rifle here has won me quite a few matches as far as bench rest 22 goes, believe it or not. I do have an Element Optics Titan optic on there. We're going to be using the Magneto Speed on the front to get our velocity data. Now this is a 20-inch heavy barrel, so velocities could be a little bit skewed. However, as we mostly know, and from my understanding, maximum burn in 22 LR is about 16.5 inches. So we shouldn't really gain anything with the 20, but we're not going to lose anything either. So is what we're going to do. Like I said, I'm going to go through, I'm going to weigh every round, and I'm going to shoot every round for velocity numbers. And at the very end, we're going to take a look at our target. We're going to take a look at all the numbers, but we're going to get standard dev and everything, not only on our velocity, but our loadings as well. I think that's going to be really imperative as we go through this series. And depending on how much you guys watch this stuff is really going to depend how many more of these I do. But I think these are going to be really cool. Bench Rest 22, NRL 22 is still hot, and it's just a lot of fun, and you don't have to burn up a ton of money to do it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get everything started. I'm going to record the shooting, just use it as inset once we go over the velocity data and all the other data points, and we'll see how this CCI standard velocity does. This here is going to be the 40 grain target load. This is 1,070 feet per second. So you can still find this stuff for less than $5 a box. And I would argue that this loading here is probably as close to match 22 LR ammo that you can get without paying match 22 LR ammo prices. So definitely intrigued to see how this stacks up at 50 yards with 50 rounds. .1062. So now 1070 is advertised feet per second. .1044. Now again, we've got a 20-inch barrel. Would expect to see maximum burn. .1072. Yeah, the group is definitely opening up. That one's .1041. .1044. .1085. Wow, that's interesting. Still hit within the same group down there. Got .1039. That one was .1035, and it did drop below the standard group. So .1035, I'm going to star that one. 2 more shots. We've got 1049. And our last one is 1052. So, with that there, I would say it's pretty consistent for, you know, a $5 load. The truth is going to be in the target, of course, which is going to be relative to me as a shooter and my platform. However, this rifle does shoot very, very well. With that being said, we'll get the velocity numbers on here. Now, in between each 10-round string, we let it cool. I did season the barrel with CCI standard before I started this test. So, you know, I think it's definitely going to be interesting. So I'm going to crunch all these numbers. I'm going to pick up all the stuff. We'll get the final report back. We'll take a look at the target. So I'll meet you guys back in the gun room. All right, so we are back from the hide. We have got our data collected. Again, this was on the CCI standard velocity. This is the 40 grain round nose with an advertised feet per second of 1,070. So again, we were shooting the Savage Mark II FV. This is with a 20-inch barrel, and as I mentioned, I'm pretty sure standard barrel length 16.5 inches is going to give you maximum burn on a 22 LR, which is probably why we didn't see velocity numbers over this advertised feet per second. There's just not enough powder left to push the bullet any faster. So that does stand to reason. So that definitely checks out. But we have got our first order of business here. So this is our target. So this was 50 shots at 50 yards. We did have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I would probably consider this guy over here 5 errant shots outside of probably the standard deviation. Otherwise, we had basically 45 shots within that area. And you can see, yeah, it's nothing to post a 5-shot group. That's the size of a dime. But take that times 10, and then let's see how big that dispersion is. Because I can tell you that rifle that I was shooting, that Mark II, that thing shoots lights out. So I know the rifle will shoot. However, this is just what I would consider, I mean, I guess it is a bulk ammunition, not bulk in the sense of, you know, buying a 500 round carton of it, but it's definitely not match 22 LR price. So, but there is our group, and let's see, overall, knocking stuff down on the bench here, you're looking at about a 2-inch spread. So, and that's even with the errant shot over here all the way on the right. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the actual data. So we've got our standard deviation, and again, we did take all of that into account. So I weighed every shot, and then I got velocity data on every single shot out of that box, okay? Now I took and put this into an SD calculator because I was not freehanding 50 data points. But let's take a look. Now, we did get a confidence interval of less than 1% on both the grain weights and feet per second. So that tells me that the true value is definitely within this set. The data is good. So with our let's see, our standard dev on our weight. So this was each of the rounds being weighed individually on my scale. We had a standard deviation of basically 0.13. Now, with that being said, look at our frequency table. So we had a range of 50.5 all the way to 51.0 with a mode of 50.7. Okay, now I have heard of guys, and I've done this too, is to get a little bit more precision out of these rounds, take and weigh them and then shoot the groups based off weight. So shoot everything, you know, weigh 5 or 6 boxes and get every one of them that weighs 50.7 and then go shoot your match with all those. So that's one way you can kind of mitigate a little bit of that SD. So you can do that, and it also kind of saves you some money in regard of spending, you know, $20 for a box of like Lapua or something like that, 10X. Now here is our velocity. So we had a standard dev of 13.4, and now we did have a median of 1,047. And notice we do have an advertised velocity of 1070. Our largest and smallest, so our extreme spread was 70 feet per second. So smallest at 1015, largest at 1085, with the mode being 1051. And this was also had a confidence interval of less than 1%. So our data should be good to go. Overall, what does this tell you? I mean, I'm going to let you guys make the final determination. For me, it tells me that for the price paid, it's a pretty decent ammunition. I mean, you really don't know what you are capable of and what your rifle is capable of until you start putting significant rounds into a single group. That is really going to let you see how that actual bell curve looks as far as you shooting. And the overall, I think it's pretty good. I mean, again, you can still buy this stuff for like $5 a box, maybe $6, between $5 and $6, depending on where you live. So, overall, I think it's a solid ammunition. I think we all knew that kind of going in, but being able to see the actual data on paper, I think that's a really cool point to take into consideration the next time you're outsourcing some 22 ammo for a match. But if you guys like this content, please let me know down in the comments box below, and maybe let me know another 22 LR ammunition you would like featured in the 50 yards, 50 rounds. So we'll kind of keep this going this summer and kind of see where we end up maybe at the end of the summer, and then kind of compare all the data in one final video. That might be kind of cool. So definitely let me know down in the comments what you all think, and if you'd like to see more of these, hit me up over on the Facebook page. Always glad to interact with you all over there. And as always, guys, shoot straight. Later.